You're walking into a room, and suddenly it feels familiar, like you've been here before, said these exact words before, felt this exact moment before, but you haven't. This has never happened to you. Not in this life. Not in this room. Not with these people. So why does your brain swear that it has? This strange feeling has a name, and for most of human history, nobody could explain it. People blamed past lives. People blamed prophecy. Some thought it was proof of the soul. But today, neuroscience has finally caught up. And the real answer is stranger and much more human than any of those old explanations. Today, we're breaking down the actual science of déjà vu. Déjà vu is a French phrase. It means already seen, and it is far more common than most people realize. Somewhere between 60 and 80% of people experience it at some point in their life. It shows up most often in your teenage years and 20s, usually between 15 and 25. Then, strangely, it becomes rarer and rarer as you get older. For most of history, there was no scientific explanation for it at all. Ancient philosophers wrote about it as a glimpse into a past life. Some religious traditions treated it as a spiritual sign. Even in the 1800s, doctors had almost nothing to say about it, other than calling it a strange kind of memory confusion. It wasn't until brain imaging technology arrived that scientists could actually start testing what was happening inside the skull during these moments. And what they found was not mystical at all. It was mechanical, a small, split-second hiccup in how your brain processes reality. Here is the leading scientific explanation. Your brain is essentially a prediction machine. It is constantly comparing what is happening right now to memories from your past. This is not a small task. Every second, your brain is scanning your environment, matching patterns, and deciding how to respond, mostly without you noticing any of it. This system exists because it makes life faster. You don't have to consciously think through every detail every time you walk into a kitchen. Your brain just recognizes kitchen, pulls up the relevant memories and habits, and lets you move on autopilot. It's efficient. It's usually invisible. But sometimes, this system misfires. According to one major theory, your brain actually has two separate processes running at almost the same time. One process experiences the world as it happens, in real time. A second process takes that experience and stores it as a memory. Normally, these two processes are in near-perfect sync, so you never notice the gap between them. But every so often, there's a tiny delay. Maybe 1 second. Maybe even less. Your brain experiences something, and then stores it as a memory almost immediately afterward, instead of with the usual timing. So when that freshly stored memory version reaches your conscious awareness, it feels like something you remember from before, even though the real gap is barely a second long. In other words, déjà vu isn't your brain reaching into the past. It's your brain briefly confusing right now with a moment that happened just a second ago. There's a second explanation that works alongside this one, and many researchers think both are happening together. It's called the gestalt familiarity theory, and it comes from how your brain processes the layout of a scene rather than individual memories. Here's how it plays out. Imagine you walk into a friend's new apartment for the very first time. You've never physically been there before, but the layout is somehow similar to your childhood bedroom. Similar size, similar window position, a couch in a similar spot. You don't consciously notice any of these small details, but a part of your brain absolutely does notice them, working quietly in the background. That part of your brain sends a signal upward. This feels familiar. Your conscious mind receives that signal and instinctively goes searching for a specific memory to match it, because that's what familiarity usually means. But there is no matching memory to find, because you truly have never been in this apartment before. The familiar feeling is real, but the memory behind it doesn't exist. So your brain does something very human. It fills in the gap with the simplest explanation it can find. I must have experienced this exact moment before. And that conclusion is what you experience as déjà vu. Not an actual memory resurfacing, but a mismatch between a real gut feeling of familiarity and a missing explanation for where that feeling came from. Researchers have even recreated this effect in labs, using virtual reality. They designed digital rooms that quietly share a floor plan with a room a person saw earlier, without letting the person consciously realize it. And sure enough, many participants report a strong déjà vu-like sensation, even though nothing supernatural is happening. Just two rooms sharing a hidden structural similarity. Here's something genuinely interesting about déjà vu. It happens most often in young people, and it becomes noticeably rare after around age 40. At first, that might sound backwards. Older people have lived longer, so shouldn't they have more chances for déjà vu, not fewer? But one theory flips that logic around and suggests this pattern is actually a sign of a healthy brain. Some scientists believe déjà vu happens when your brain's internal error-checking system catches its own small glitch. It notices that something feels off, that a memory signal doesn't quite line up with reality, and it flags that mismatch to your conscious awareness. That flagging process is what you experience as the eerie déjà vu sensation. As people age, this internal checking system may gradually slow down. So older brains may simply have fewer déjà vu moments, not because life becomes less familiar with age, but because the part of the brain responsible for catching these tiny memory misfires becomes less active over time. Which leads to a strange conclusion. Déjà vu might not be a flaw in your brain at all. It might actually be proof that your brain's glitch detector is working exactly the way it's supposed to, catching its own tiny errors in real time, faster than you can consciously notice. So the next time déjà vu hits you, out of nowhere, in the middle of an ordinary day, remember this. You're not glimpsing the future. You're not reliving a past life. You're witnessing your own brain catch itself in a tiny timing error, a delay of barely a second between experiencing something and remembering it. Which means déjà vu isn't proof that something strange is happening to you. It's proof that something is working exactly right inside your head, just a little too fast for you to ever notice on your own. If this blew your mind, subscribe. We unpack one strange thing about your brain every single week.